Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My name is Isaiah Coleman, and I am 35 years old. I can tell you the exact second my marriage ended. Not the legal end, not the date on the papers. The moment. It was a Friday night in early fall, and I was sitting on the couch in our house outside Dallas, scrolling through my phone after dinner, half watching a basketball game with the sound low. My wife, Lauren, walked past me on her way to our bedroom, the faint smell of her perfume trailing behind her like a reminder of better years. Lauren was getting ready to meet her friends for drinks. Same routine every Friday night for as long as I could remember. She stood in the hallway, facing the mirror, applying a layer of deep red lipstick with the focus of surgeon. "You know," she said, not even glancing at me, "every single day I look at you and wonder if this is the best I could do with my life." She said it like she was commenting on the weather. Casual, matter of fact, almost bored. The way someone might say, "We are out of milk." My thumb froze on the screen. For a moment, the only sounds in the house were the distant murmur of the television, the hum of the refrigerator, and the soft click of her lipstick tube as she closed it. I looked up at her. Lauren was still focused on her reflection, tilting her head slightly to adjust her earrings. "Seriously?" I asked. My voice came out calmer than I felt. She finally met my eyes through the mirror, one eyebrow slightly raised. "What?" Lauren said. "I'm just being honest. Is that not what is supposed to make marriages work? Honesty." She dabbed at the corner of her mouth with a tissue, as if her words weighed nothing. 8 years of marriage. And apparently this was her version of honesty. Not a conversation, not even an argument, just a casual observation that I was essentially the consolation prize in her life story. I sat back slowly, feeling something inside of me go very, very still. "Have fun with your friends," I said, turning my attention back to my phone, or at least pretending to. My heart was pounding hard enough that I could feel it in my fingertips. Lauren slid on her heels, grabbed her purse and keys from the entryway table, and checked herself one more time in the mirror. "Do not wait up," she said. "We might go dancing after dinner." The front door closed with a soft click that sounded louder than any slammed door I had ever heard. The house settled into silence, broken only by the low noise of the game and the distant rush of cars on the road outside our subdivision. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes, staring at the same frozen screen on my phone, just processing the fact that my wife had told me she wondered every day if I was the best she could do. Then something strange occurred to me. She had been right about one thing. Honesty does make marriages work. And honestly, I was done. I stood up and walked down the hall to our bedroom. The room we had painted together. The room where we had talked about kids we never had. The room that had slowly become a place where I slept next to a stranger. I opened my closet, reached up, and pulled down the old black duffel bag I used for weekend trips with the guys. I laid it open on the bed and started packing methodically. Work clothes first. Slacks, dress shirts, ties, socks. Then casual clothes, jeans, t-shirts, a couple of hoodies. I swept my toiletries into a smaller bag, then went to the file cabinet and pulled out my important documents: birth certificate, passport, social security card, bank information. It took about 2 hours to pack up 8 years of my life. Funny how little of it actually belonged to me when you really looked at it. Most of the furniture was hers. Most of the decorations, the color choices, the framed quotes on the wall about love and partnership. Most of the decisions about how we lived had been hers too. I walked into the kitchen, grabbed a notepad from the junk drawer, and wrote a simple note. "Thanks for the honesty. You are free to find out if you can do better. Take care. Isaiah." I left it on the kitchen counter, where I knew she would see it as soon as she walked in. Then I carried my bags to the garage, loaded them into my car, and backed out onto the quiet street. I drove across town into Dallas, toward my friend Corey's apartment complex. Corey and I had grown up together, and he had always been the person I could show up on the doorstep with no explanation and know I would not be turned away. The parking lot lights cast long shadows across the cars as I pulled in and parked. Corey answered the door in sweatpants and a faded college t-shirt, the glow of the television flickering behind him. "Isaiah," he said, eyes dropping to the bags at my feet. "What is going on, man?" "Long story," I said. "Can I crash on your couch for a few days while I figure things out?" I felt the words land heavily between us. Saying them out loud made the situation suddenly very real. Corey stepped aside without hesitation and gestured me in. Of course. You know you do not even have to ask. You want a beer? The smell of butter and microwave popcorn drifted in from the living room, mixing with the faint scent of his cologne. Actually, yes, I said, letting out a breath I did not realize I had been holding. That sounds perfect. As I settled onto his worn but comfortable couch with a cold beer in my hand, I felt the tension in my shoulders start to ease in a way it had not in months, maybe years. The game played on the screen, some West Coast team finishing out the fourth quarter, but I barely noticed the score. For the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely relaxed. No tightness in my chest. No subtle awareness of what mood might be waiting for me in the next room. My phone buzzed around midnight where I had sat on the coffee table. A text from Lauren lit up the screen. Having an amazing time. Going dancing. Be home late. There was a winking face emoji at the end, as if we had just had a normal evening. I turned the phone face down on Corey's table and focused on the game. Everything all right? Corey asked, glancing over. Not really, I said. But right now, I just want to watch someone else's problems play out on that court and pretend mine do not exist. That, Corey said, raising his beer, is a plan I can support. We clinked bottles and watched the rest of the game in companionable silence. Saturday morning hit differently. I woke up on Corey's couch with sunlight streaming through the blinds and the smell of coffee and bacon drifting in from the kitchen. For a brief moment, I forgot where I was. Then I heard Corey humming off-key to some old R&B song and remembered everything at once. My phone started buzzing like an angry wasp on the table next to me. I picked it up and blinked at the screen. 17 missed calls. 23 text messages. All from Lauren. The messages had started around 2 in the morning. Where are you? Isaiah, this is not funny. Then they escalated through the familiar stages. Panic, confusion, anger, bargaining. This is ridiculous. Come home right now. We need to talk about this like adults. You cannot just leave without discussing it. I did not mean it the way it sounded. You are being dramatic. I stared at the last one for a second. You are being dramatic. The woman who had once cried for an hour because I bought the wrong brand of yogurt was calling me dramatic. The irony almost made me laugh. Corey walked into the living room with 2 mugs of coffee, his hair sticking up in every direction. Morning, he said. Sounds like someone is not thrilled about your executive decision. Executive decision, I repeated, accepting the mug. I like that. I took a sip, letting the hot coffee steady me. She is apparently shocked that I took her at her word. My phone started ringing again. Same number. I watched it vibrate across the table, then hit decline. A second later, a text popped up. Answer your phone. You planning to respond to any of that? Corey asked as he sank into his recliner and grabbed the remote. Eventually, I said, when I am ready to have the conversation on my terms, not hers. The phone rang again. This time I sighed and answered. Where are you? Lauren's voice came through sharp, with no greeting, no pause, just immediate accusation. Good morning to you too, I said, leaning back on the couch. Do not you dare act casual about this, Lauren said. You disappear in the middle of the night like some kind of coward. Actually, it was around 10 in the evening, I replied, and I left a note explaining everything. That is more courtesy than some people extend when they decide their spouse is a disappointment. That was not an explanation. That was a tantrum, she snapped. I took another sip of coffee and watched Corey flip through channels, settling on a rerun of some cooking show. So let me get this straight, I said. Yesterday you told me you wonder every day if I'm the best you could do with your life. Today you are upset that I gave you the chance to find out. I am confused about the logic here. There was silence on her end for a full 10 seconds. Then Lauren said, I was just having a bad day. You know I did not mean it. See, that is where you are wrong, I said quietly. I think you meant every word. And honestly, I can live with that. What I cannot live with is being someone's backup plan while they try to trade up. You are overreacting, Lauren said. People say things when they are frustrated. Am I? I asked, because from where I am sitting, I am just following your lead. You want an honesty, right? So here's mine. I deserve better than someone who looks at me every day and wonders if she's settled. Her voice changed then, slipping into a softer, more vulnerable tone I knew all too well. It was the voice she used when she wanted to bend a situation back in her favor. Baby, please, Lauren said. We can work through this. Every couple has rough patches. This is not a rough patch, I said. This is you telling me exactly how you feel about our marriage. And you know what? I believe you. Where are you staying? She demanded. That is not your concern anymore, I said. Of course it is my concern. I am your wife. Yesterday I was the man you settled for, I said. Today I am your husband again. Which is it? There was another long silence. When are you coming home so we can discuss this properly? Lauren asked. I looked around Corey's living room. Comfortable couch. Good coffee. No tension in the air. No tight feeling in my chest. I am home, I said. This is where I want to be right now. You are staying with Corey, are you not? She said sharply. I ended the call without answering. 2 minutes later, a text came through. Tell Corey I said hi. She says hi. I told Corey. Fantastic, Corey said dryly. Tell her I said you are welcome to stay as long as you need. My phone stayed busy all weekend. Calls, texts, voicemails. Each message got more desperate, more angry, more manipulative. By Sunday night, she had cycled through everything from, I will change, I promise, to, you are throwing away 8 years, to, my lawyer says you cannot just abandon marital property, to, I love you, you are making a huge mistake. I responded to exactly one message. To the one about the lawyer I replied, feel free to have your lawyer call me. We can discuss the divorce terms. That seemed to quiet things down for a while. 3 weeks into my new living situation, I started to remember who I used to be. It is strange how you can lose track of yourself so gradually that you do not notice until you finally get some distance. I had been crashing at Corey's, but it was time to find my own place. I found a decent rental house in a quiet neighborhood about 20 minutes from my job in downtown Dallas. Nothing fancy, but it had a small garage and a fenced backyard where I could finally use the grill I bought years ago, but never touched because the smoke bothered the neighbors, according to Lauren. Work became a completely different experience. Without the constant low-level stress of wondering what mood I would walk into at home, I actually started enjoying my job again. I was a project coordinator for a construction company that handled commercial renovations, and for the first time in years, I was showing up early, staying focused, and speaking up in meetings instead of just getting through them. That is how I really met Kiera. She worked in the design department, and although we had crossed paths a couple of times in the 3 years I had been at the company, I had never paid much attention beyond a polite nod in the hallway. Once I started engaging more at work, that changed. We were assigned to collaborate on a commercial renovation project for an office building downtown. During our second project meeting, Kiera spread out some preliminary sketches on the conference table, then glanced at my left hand. You know, she said, I do not think I have ever seen you without that wedding ring before. I looked down at my bare hand, the faint line of lighter skin where the ring used to sit. I had stopped wearing it the day I left the house. Recent development, I said. I see, Kiera said. Her expression was neutral, but there was a hint of something gentler behind her eyes. Well, for what it is worth, you seem different lately. More present, if that makes sense. It makes perfect sense, I said. I think I am finally waking up from a long nap. Kiera laughed at that, a warm, easy sound that filled the room without demanding anything. Well, she said, welcome back to the land of the living. Kiera was easy to talk to, not in a romantic way at first, just in a normal human way I had forgotten was possible. She asked real questions about the project, listened to my answers, shared ideas, and made decisions without creating drama. It was astonishing how a refreshing, simple, respectful interaction could feel. Our project meetings started running longer than necessary. Afterward, we would grab coffee in a lobby cafe to discuss details. Coffee turned into lunch once or twice a week. Lunch turned into an unspoken routine, a steady rhythm of shared breaks built around deadlines and site visits. Meanwhile, the phone campaigns for my now officially estranged wife had settled into a pattern. Lauren would go quiet for a few days, then unleash a barrage of messages ranging from angry to pleading to outright bizarre. My favorite was the 3 a.m. text that said, I bought your favorite ice cream. It is in the freezer waiting for you. I stared at that one for a long time before showing it to Corey. I do not even like ice cream, I said. She has known me for 8 years, and she still thinks mint chocolate chip is my favorite because she likes it. Corey shook his head. She texted you about ice cream at 3 a.m, he asked. What kind? Mint chocolate chip, I said. Corey laughed. She really does not know you at all. You hate mint ice cream. Exactly my point, I said. She has been married to a version of me that mostly existed in her head. By the end of the month, I had settled into a routine that felt like it actually belonged to me. Work, gym, then home to my quiet house where I could cook what I wanted, watch what I wanted on television, or just sit on the back porch and listen to the sounds of the neighborhood without someone sighing dramatically every 10 minutes. One evening, Kiera and I were finishing up a late project review in a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The office had mostly emptied out, the sky outside shifting from orange to deep blue. Kiera closed her laptop and stretched. "Do you want to grab dinner?" she asked. "There is a new Italian place a few blocks over, and I'm starving." It is not a date, I told myself in my head. Two colleagues getting food after a long day. It happens all the time. Out loud, I said sure. I could eat. We walked to the restaurant, a cozy spot called Romano's with low lighting and the smell of garlic and tomato sauce hanging in the air. Sitting across from Kiera at that small table, listening to her laugh and my stories about construction site disasters, I realized something important. This was what normal felt like. Easy conversation, genuine interest in each other's thoughts. No careful monitoring every word. No walking through an emotional minefield where a misplaced sentence could turn the entire evening into a storm. Just two people talking over pasta and sparkling water. "Can I ask you something?" Kiera said over dessert, pushing her plate away. "You do not have to answer if it is too personal." "Go ahead," I said. "What was your marriage like?" she asked gently. I thought about that for a full minute. Images flashed through my mind. The early days when everything still felt light, the gradual shift to criticism, the nights of silent tension. Exhausting, I said at last. I spent so much energy trying to be the right version of myself that I forgot what the original version was like. Kiera nodded slowly. "I have been there," she said. "My last relationship was like that. I always felt like I was auditioning for a role I never got cast for. No matter what I did, it was never quite enough." "Exactly," I said. And then one night she looked at me, calm as anything, and told me she wondered every day if I was the best she could do. And I realized I had been wondering the same thing about her for years, but I was too tired to admit it. "Sounds like you both got your answer," Kiera said. When I drove home that night, my house felt different. Not lonely, peaceful. For the first time since leaving, I was not thinking about what I had lost. I was thinking about what I might find next. 2 months after I walked out, something big happened at work. Our company landed a major contract to renovate the historic Hamilton Westfield Hotel in downtown Dallas, a project worth more than anything we had handled before. During our Monday morning meeting, my boss, Derek Howard, called me into his office. "Isaiah," he said without preamble, "I am putting you in charge of the Westfield project. Full project management. Your team, your timeline, your show." I blinked. "Mr. Howard, that is a massive project. Are you sure you want?" "You have been different these past couple of months," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Sharper, more engaged, taking initiative. Yesterday, you caught that structural issue in the Jefferson Tower plans that would have cost us $50,000 to fix later. I need that level of attention on Westfield." The project meant longer hours, more responsibility, and direct contact with clients who were investing serious money. It also meant proving to myself that I could handle something significant without anyone watching over my shoulder every 5 minutes. "I will not let you down," I said. "I know you will not," Derek said. "That is why you got the job." When I walked back to my desk, I felt something I had not felt in years, genuine pride in my work. Not the kind where you're grateful someone remembered your name, but the kind where you know, without doubt, that you earned the opportunity. Kiera was waiting by my cubicle with a stack of design mock-ups. "Well," she said, studying my face, "you look like someone who just got very good news." "Westfield project," I said. "I am lead on it." Her face lit up. "That is amazing," Kiera said, "and I am lead designer on it. So we will be working together pretty closely." "Even better," I said. "Your designs for Jefferson Tower were brilliant." "Flattery will get you everywhere," Kiera said with a smile. "Want to grab lunch and go over initial concepts?" Lunch had become a regular thing 3 or 4 times a week. Nothing officially romantic yet, but something was clearly growing between us. She was smart, thoughtful, and had a way of challenging my ideas without making it feel like an attack. After 8 years of every disagreement turning into a personal indictment, it felt revolutionary. Over sandwiches in the park near our building, Kiera spread out her preliminary sketches for the Westfield lobby. "I am thinking we preserve the original Art Deco elements," she said, tracing lines on the paper with her fingertip, "but modernize the functionality. Keep the history, but make it work for guests today." "That is exactly right," I said. "Respect what was there, but do not get trapped by it." I looked at her and realized we were no longer just talking about the hotel. Kiera glanced up from the drawings and held my gaze. "Are we still discussing design?" she asked. "Or something else?" "Maybe not entirely design," I said. We were definitely flirting now. We had been for weeks, really, but this felt like the first time we both acknowledged it openly. That evening, my phone lit up with Lauren's name while I was at my kitchen table reviewing Westfield plans. I almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. I answered. "Hello. I know you were seeing someone," Lauren said immediately. No greeting. "Good evening to you too," I said. "Crystal saw you at Romano's last week with some woman," Lauren continued. "Light brown hair, professional looking." "Who is she?" Crystal was Lauren's sister, which explained the intelligence network. "That is really not your business anymore," I said. "Of course it is my business. We are still married," she insisted. "At least until the paperwork is final." There was a pause, then she shifted into that familiar tone again. "I've been thinking about what I said that night," Lauren said. "I was stressed about work and I took it out on you. It was not fair." "It was not fair," I agreed. "But that is not the problem. The problem is it was honest. You told me you wonder every day if I am the best you could do." That was not stress talking. That was the truth finally slipping out. "People say things they do not mean when they are upset," Lauren said. I was overwhelmed. "You know I was dealing with a lot." "I've been thinking about it for 2 months," I said. "And I realized something. You were right. You probably can do better than me. And I can definitely do better than someone who sees me as a daily disappointment." "That is not what I said," she protested. "I never called you a disappointment." "You did not have to," I replied. "It was pretty clear from the way you acted for the last 2 years of our marriage. Always too tired when I wanted to talk. Always too busy when I suggested we do something together. Always finding reasons why my ideas would not work. I was going through a difficult time," Lauren said. "For 2 years. You know that." "Yes," I said. "And somewhere in that difficult time, you checked out of our marriage." I just finally made it official. There was another long pause. "Is it serious with her?" Lauren asked quietly. I looked around my quiet house. Everything in its place, organized the way I liked it. No constant undercurrent of tension. No sense of walking into a test I could not pass. "You know what is serious?" I said. "I'm happy. Genuinely happy. I wake up looking forward to my day, instead of wondering what is going to go wrong." "She does not know you like I do," Lauren said. "Actually," I said, "that might be the point. She knows the version of me that exists now, not the version that was slowly disappearing in our marriage." "I want to try again," Lauren said. "We could go to counseling, work on communication. People come back from worse than this." "The time for that was when I was still trying," I said. "When I suggested counseling 2 years ago, and you told me we did not need strangers telling us how to be married. Do you remember that conversation?" Silence. "I'm hanging up now," I said. "Please stop calling." "Wait," she began, but I ended the call and turned my phone off. Tomorrow I would dive deeper into the Westfield details with Kiera. Tonight, I was going to enjoy the quiet and maybe start the book that had been sitting on my nightstand for months. For the first time since everything began, I was not thinking about Lauren at all. I was thinking about tomorrow, and it looked good. 3 months later, Lauren escalated from phone calls to full-scale reconnaissance. It started with seemingly casual questions from mutual friends. One Tuesday evening, my old neighbor Terrell called. "Hey man," Terrell said. "Just checking in. How have you been?" "Good," I said, smiling a little. "Really good, actually." "What is up?" "Nothing much," he said. "Just, people are asking about you. Wondering how you were doing." "People?" I asked. There was a long pause. "Okay, fine," Terrell said. "Lauren asked me to call. She wanted to know if you were dating anyone." I had a laugh. "She has you doing intelligence work now," I said. "Look, I told her I was not comfortable with it," Terrell said. "But she is persistent. She says you will not talk to her." "Because there is nothing left to talk about," I said. "We are getting divorced. That pretty much covers everything. She seems to think there is still a chance, Terrell said carefully. Terrell, I said, listen to me. There is no chance. None. She made her feelings about our marriage very clear, and I am respecting that by giving her the freedom she want to go find someone better. After I hung up, I realized this was probably just the beginning. Sure enough, over the next few weeks, I got similar calls from 3 more mutual friends, all with suspiciously similar questions about my living situation, my work, and whether I was seeing anyone. The answers were getting easier to give. Yes, I had my own place. Yes, work was going exceptionally well. And yes, I was seeing someone, and it was getting serious. Because by then it was Kiera, and I had been officially dating for a month. The difference between this relationship and my marriage felt like the difference between sunlight and a flickering candle in a drafty room. Kiera listened when I talked. She remembered things I said weeks earlier and brought them up thoughtfully. She seemed genuinely interested in my opinions, even when she disagreed. The Westfield project was coming together beautifully. We were preserving the hotel's 1920s character while completely modernizing the infrastructure. Working with Kiera was effortless. She would sketch out ideas. I would find ways to make them structurally sound. And somehow, we consistently ended up with something better than either of us had imagined alone. One evening at her apartment, we had the final lobby designs spread across her kitchen table. The smell of roasted chicken and herbs filled the small space. Kiera traced a line on one of the drawings. You know what I love about this project? Kiera asked. What is that? I said. We are taking something that was beautiful once, but got neglected and run down, she said, and bringing it back to life. Not just restoring it, but making it better than it was before. I looked at her, surrounded by design sketches and project timelines, and realized she was not only talking about the hotel. Are we still discussing renovation? I asked. Maybe not entirely, Kiera said with a small smile. But the metaphor works, does it not? It did. 6 months earlier, I had felt like I was slowly disappearing, shrinking into a quieter, more careful version of myself every day. Now, for the first time in years, I felt like I was expanding again, remembering what it felt like to be excited about something, to have conversations that energized me instead of draining me. That was about the time Lauren decided to escalate again. I was leaving work late on a Thursday, the city lights reflecting off the glass facade of our office building, when I spotted a familiar car in the visitor parking lot. Lauren was sitting behind the wheel, hands gripping the steering wheel, eyes fixed on the exit. When she saw me, she got out and walked over quickly, heels clicking on the pavement. We need to talk, Lauren said. No, I replied calmly. What we need is for you to stop showing up at my workplace. I have been patient. I have given you space. But this has gone on long enough. Patient, she repeated. You have been ignoring my calls. You left without giving me a chance to fix this. I had to find another way to reach you. So you decided to sit in the parking lot and wait for me to leave work. I asked. That is not a good look, Lauren. She flushed slightly but did not back down. I just need to talk to you. I know about her, Lauren said. I stopped walking toward my car. What about her? I asked. Kiera Brooks, she said. Interior designer. 29 years old. Never married. Lives in that little complex on Maple Street near downtown. I saw her profile. Cold slipped down my spine. You look her up, I said. I had to know what I was competing against, Lauren said. She is pretty. I will give her that. But she does not know you like I do. That is the second time you have said that, I replied. And you are right. She does not know the version of me who spent 8 years trying to be good enough for someone who made it clear he was not. She knows the version of me that exists now. You think this is love? Lauren asked. You have known her for what? 3 months? 4. I think it's healthy. I said. I think it is what normal feels like. And I had forgotten that was even possible. Her expression shifted, cycling through anger, hurt, persuasion. I made a mistake, Lauren said. People make mistakes. That does not mean we throw away 8 years, Isaiah. You did not make a mistake, I said quietly. You told me the truth about how you saw me, and I finally listened. I was going through something, Lauren insisted. I was depressed, stressed about work. I did not know how to talk about it. For how long? I asked. Because honestly, I cannot remember the last time you seemed genuinely happy to see me come home. Can you? She opened her mouth, then closed it again. That is what I thought, I said. Look, I hope you find what you're looking for. I really do. But it is not me. It never was. We both know that now. She will not make you happy long term, Lauren said. You were just caught up in the excitement of something new. I unlocked my car door. Maybe you were right, I said. Maybe this thing with Kiera burns out in 6 months. But even if it does, I will still be better off than I was spending every day wondering if my own wife thought I was worth her time. Please just think about it, Lauren said. We could try counseling. I did think about it, I said. For 2 months. Here's what I figured out. I do not want to fix this. I want to be with someone who does not think I need fixing. I got into my car and pulled away, watching her in the rearview mirror as she stood in the parking lot, shoulders slightly hunched, arms wrapped around herself. My hand shook a little on the steering wheel, not from doubt, but from relief. I had finally said out loud what I had been thinking for months. When I got to Kiera's place that evening, she opened the door, took one look at my face, and stepped aside to let me in. Rough day? Kiera asked. You could say that, I replied, dropping my keys on the entryway table. Lauren showed up at my job. She did some research on you. Apparently, she knows where you live, how old you are, your work history. The full stalker package. Kiera raised an eyebrow. Should I be worried? She asked. No, I said. But you should know what you're getting into by dating me. It seems there may be a crazy ex-wife situation. Kiera considered this for a moment, then nodded. Will you handle it? She asked. Absolutely, I said. Then we are fine, she replied. She leaned in and kissed me lightly. Besides, if she did her research properly, she knows I graduated at the top of my design program, and I kickbox twice a week. I can take care of myself. That night, lying next to Kiera in her bed, listening to her slow, even breathing, I realized something. I was not just moving on from my marriage. I was moving towards something better. 8 months after I walked out of that house in the suburbs, I was living a life that actually felt like mine. The Westfield project had wrapped up 3 weeks ahead of schedule and $50,000 under budget. Derek had already assigned me to lead another major renovation, this time for a downtown office complex. Kiera and I had moved in together a month earlier. I had forgotten that cohabitation could involve shared laughter and mutual respect, instead of silent standoffs over who forgot to buy laundry detergent. We cooked together, argued about nothing more serious than whether to watch a crime drama or a documentary, and fell asleep most nights tired from work but content. That was when Lauren decided to stage her grand finale. I was at a Home Depot one Saturday morning, pushing a cart down the lumber aisle and mentally calculating how many boards I would need to build custom shelves for a home office. My phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Hello, I said. This is Isaiah. Hi, Isaiah, a female voice said, slightly nervous. Is this about Kiera? I asked immediately, feeling a flash of alarm. Yes, the woman said. My name is Morgan Price. I work with Kiera at Harborline Design Group. She asked me to call you. She is fine, but there's a situation at the office. Can you get down here? She said to tell you it is about your ex-wife, and that you would understand. 20 minutes later, I pulled into the parking lot of Harborline Design Group, located in a sleek glass building on the edge of downtown. A small group of employees stood near the front entrance, pretending to scroll their phones, but clearly watching something through the glass doors. Through the doors, I could see Kiera standing calmly behind the reception desk, arms folded across her chest, while Lauren paced back and forth in the lobby like a restless storm cloud. Morgan met me at the entrance. She has been here for an hour, Morgan whispered, demanding to speak with Kiera about stealing her husband. Security called the police, but she is not technically trespassing since she said she is here about design services. Design services? I repeated. She told reception she wanted to hire Kiera to redecorate her living room, Morgan said. Then she started raising her voice. I took a deep breath and walked through the lobby doors. The conversation stopped immediately. Lauren spun around, her eyes red-rimmed, makeup smudged slightly. For the first time since the parking lot confrontation, I got a good look at her up close. She looked tired, not just physically, but down to the bone, like someone who had spent too much time scrolling through social media and not enough time sleeping. Finally, Lauren said, I have been trying to have a civilized conversation with your girlfriend about the situation. What situation? I asked, keeping my voice level. Kiera spoke from behind the desk. She wants to know why I destroyed her marriage, and whether I am aware that you are using me to get back at her, Kiera said. I had to bite back a laugh. And what did you tell her? I asked Kiera. I told her, Kiera said, that her marriage was already destroyed when I met you, and that nobody uses a woman who can bench press her own body weight for anything. A couple of people behind us coughed to hide their amusement. Lauren stepped forward, shoulders stiff. This is exactly what I'm talking about, she said. She is turning you against me. Actually, I said, you turned me against you 8 months ago when you told me I was probably the worst decision you had ever made. Kiera is just the person who helped me realize you were right. That is not what I said, Lauren protested. Close enough, I replied. Look, what exactly are you hoping to accomplish here? Because embarrassing yourself in Kiera's workplace does not seem like a winning strategy. I want to know what she has that I do not have, Lauren said, her voice trembling slightly. I want to understand how you could throw away everything for her. Kiera and I exchanged a look. This was headed somewhere unpleasant, but maybe also necessary. You want a list? I asked. Because I have time. Please, Lauren said, crossing her arms. Enlighten me. I took a breath and began counting on my fingers. She laughs at my jokes, I said. She does not sigh dramatically when I talk about work. She does not roll her eyes when I suggest watching something other than reality television. She does not treat my opinions like inconvenient interruptions to her monologue about her day. That is not fair, Lauren said. I did not. I'm just getting started, I said. She does not sulk when I want to spend time with friends. She does not make me feel like I need permission to buy groceries. She does not critique my driving, my cooking, my clothes, or my life choices every single day. Lauren's face was getting red. You are being ridiculous, she said. You are exaggerating. Am I? I asked. When is the last time you told me you were proud of something I accomplished? And I do not mean proud of what I bought you or where I took you. I mean proud of me as a person. Silence. That is what I thought, I said. Kiera told me she was proud of me for landing the Westfield project before I even finished explaining what it was. Do you remember what you said 2 years ago when I told you I was up for it the first time? Lauren looked away. I told you not to get your hopes up, she said. You said you were trying to protect me from disappointment, I said. But the truth is, you were protecting yourself from having to pretend to care if I succeeded. Kiera stepped out from behind the desk then, standing beside me. Look, Kiera said, addressing Lauren, I do not know what kind of relationship you two had, and honestly, that is between you. But I can tell you what kind of relationship we have now. He comes home excited to see me. I come home excited to see him. We talk about our days because we are genuinely interested in each other's lives. We support each other. That is not some grand scheme to hurt you. That is just basic respect. You still do not know him like I do, Lauren said, but her voice had lost some of its fight. You keep saying that, I replied. Here's the thing. The version of me you knew was a man who was slowly shrinking to fit into the narrow space you left for him. Kiera knows the version of me who takes up the space he deserves. And I like this version better. This is just infatuation, Lauren said. New relationship energy. It will not last. Maybe you are right, I said. Maybe in 5 years Kiera will decide she can do better than me. The difference is, if that ever happens, she will tell me directly instead of making passive-aggressive comments for 2 years while she figures out her exit strategy. Lauren glanced around the lobby then, finally realizing that half the office was clearly listening. Employees had paused in doorways, pretending to be on their computers while their eyes flicked toward us. This is humiliating, Lauren said quietly. Yes, I said. It is. That is what happens when you corner someone at their workplace to demand explanations you are not entitled to. I just thought if I could understand, Lauren began. Understand what? I asked. Why I'm happy now. It is not complicated. I am with someone who actually likes me. That is all. She stood there for another long moment, cycling through the possibilities. Finally, Lauren picked up the designer handbag she had dropped on one of the lobby chairs. I hope you are happy, she said, but there was no kindness in it. Thanks, I said. I am. Lauren walked toward the glass doors, heels clicking sharply on the polished floor. At the entrance, she turned back one last time. You will regret this, she said. The only thing I regret, I replied, is not leaving sooner. After she left, the lobby was quiet for a heartbeat. Then Kiera started clapping slowly, and the rest of the office joined in with low, appreciative applause. Well, Kiera said, turning to me, that was educational. I'm sorry you had to deal with that here. Are you kidding? I said. From what I could tell, That was the most entertainment this office has had all year. Plus, now you understand why I am so appreciative of basic human decency." Kiera laughed and stepped closer. "Ready to go build those shells?" she asked. "Absolutely," I said. "But first, I want to hear more about how proud you are of me for landing Westfield." "I'm very proud of you," Kiera said, smiling. "And I intend to keep saying it regularly." "Good," I replied, "because that is exactly why I am not letting you go." As we walked out to the parking lot together, the late afternoon sun warm on our backs, I realized something. Lauren had been right about one thing the day she threw those words at me like they meant nothing. I had changed, but not because of Kiera, and not because I was trying to prove anything. I had changed because I finally stopped trying to be the man Lauren needed me to be to justify her choices. I started being the man I actually was. It turned out that man was someone worth knowing, someone worth loving, someone who deserved the kind of life he had almost convinced himself he did not need. 6 months later, when the divorce papers were finalized in a quiet courtroom in Dallas, I felt nothing but relief. No anger, no lingering grief, just a clean release, like finally setting down a weight I had been carrying for so long I had forgotten how heavy it was. That evening, Corey threw a small gathering at my house. A few close friends, some music playing low through the speakers, the smell of burgers drifting in from the grill I was finally using regularly. Kiera stood in the center of the living room, a glass raised high. "To second chances," Kiera said, "to knowing your worth." And to Isaiah, who finally remembered his. Everyone cheered, glasses clinked, and I felt a quiet warmth settle in my chest. I looked around at the people in my home, at Kiera's bright, steady gaze, at Corey's grin, at the comfortable space that finally felt like mine. I could not have said it better myself. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.